Hey, it's Eli, K Atlas, and in today's video, I'm going to be answering your most frequently asked questions for yours truly. Stay tuned. Also, let me know what you think about the beard. I'm growing it out a little bit in the comment section. I got a fresh fade, you feel me? All that stuff. So for this one, I wanted to make it feel really organic, so I'm going off script this time. I'll have like my questions off to the side here on the computer, but answers are gonna be totally off the top. I didn't like overthink anything or anything like that. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Thank you guys for asking all your questions on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also my new Curious Cat profile. I'm gonna leave the link to my Curious Cat profile down in the description. So even after this video is done, if you guys still wanna ask me questions, you'll be able to by following the link. And I always respond to everybody. So without further ado, let's get into it. We'll start with something light. And this question actually got asked a few times. So it's a good place to start. An anonymous person wants to know, what was your favorite cartoon? As I answered on the Curious Cat profile, it's a bit of a mashup between Batman Superman Adventures from the 90s, early 2000s, and the 90s X-Men cartoon. So hopefully that answers your question. Max Weber asks, who is your favorite superhero? Everybody who knows me will obviously know it's either Spider-Man or Batman. Depends on the day, depends on the week, depends on what I'm going through. Anonymous asks, if you were a waiter and had a rude customer, what would you do? Well, obviously I would just eat the food, you know. I don't think that's dangerous enough to get fired for, but it's also something simple enough to get revenge in a petty kind of way, but you know, I can eat for free, so take that. Toongal12 asks, how did you get into comics and who is your favorite superhero? I'll probably put a counter on the side on how many times this question gets asked. So growing up, I just used to watch I grew up on all the classics. Batman, Superman, Justice League, X-Men, X-Men Evolution, Spider-Man. I think I even watched like the Avengers, you know. They had all the other stuff on Toonami. Thundercats, Johnny Quest, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, all that stuff. So comics, animation, all that type of stuff has just been with me since I was really young, and it was just something I always wanted to do. How I got into it, technically speaking, my brother used to make these comics of his own original characters back when we were like super young, 5 or 6 or whatever it was, and he would do the comics, and I always loved his comics, man. They were fantastic. So eventually that kind of got me into making my own as well, and I guess here we are today. Again, favorite superhero is either Batman or Spider-Man. Anonymous asks, what tools do you use for drawings, digital and regular? A classic question, which I get asked a few times a week, a month. I use a variety of supplies, a real mismatch of things from different companies. A lot of trial and error involved in finding supplies that you can really count on personally, anyway. Especially with traditional gear as opposed to the digital stuff, that's a lot simpler. If you do want to take a look at what I use and want to give them a try or a buy yourself, make sure you click on the links in the description below. All right, that's important. They'll take you to Amazon where you can purchase them directly. And if you buy them through the link, you'll also be supporting my channel, since Amazon will give me a cut of whatever you buy through the link. So feel free to browse the aisles in the description and leave us something you like. As for digital tools, I use a small but trusty Wacom Intuos. Had to replace the USB at least 2 or 3 times already, but it does what I need it to. You can also find that on my Amazon link below. Anonymous asks, unpopular opinion video game edition, skull emojis. Okay, so there's a lot of them obviously, but off the top of my head, since I bought a PlayStation 4 last Christmas as of this year's date, 2019, I will have to say Horizon Zero Dawn is the greatest game for the PlayStation 4, or at least top 3. And I think it's one of the greatest games probably for PlayStation in the history of the console. And the reason why is because I really feel like it was underrated, and Aloy as the character and the whole mythos they created, it was totally original, totally from scratch. Like, it was one of the first new like IPs, really new characters we've had in ages, since everything is a franchise right now. And the game
mechanics were awesome. The world was awesome. The graphics were awesome. The characters
were great. The voice acting was great. Everything about it was great. The downloadable content is great.
There's a lot of hours you can get out of gameplay and exploration. She's the hero that we really needed, and we did not deserve her. The game went totally under the radar for all intents and purposes. Admittedly, the name is kind of trash. Horizon Zero Dawn Horizon. They could have come up with something better than that, I feel, but that's just my opinion. But the game itself is fantastic. You know, I played it. I was surprised at how much I liked it, honestly. Because even though I saw the trailer live during the E3 press conference, I knew it was a game I wanted to play, but I was surprised at how good it actually was once I started playing it. So I really feel like Aloy could have been like, you know, they had Nathan Drake for the PlayStation 3 era. I really feel like she was the hero for this generation's console, PlayStation 4. I feel like Aloy could have been up there with Ratchet and Clank, Nathan Drake, all those guys, man. I feel like she could have been all of that, but people just slept on the game. It's a real shame. Could have been up there with Tomb Raider, you know? These things happen. Thesis D asks, who is your favorite superhero and why? Another for the counter, I'm gonna go again with Spider-Man and Batman. I feel like, you know, Spider-Man, he just feels like the everyman, you know? Everyone goes through what Spider-Man goes through. You're trying to figure you're just trying to figure life out. And that's when you really just relate to Spider-Man, as opposed to Bruce Wayne. But he kind of has his thing figured out, I would say. But as opposed to him, Batman, I was always kind of like, you know, kind of a scared kid growing up, I guess. Very shy and very scared in general, I guess. So Batman, he wasn't scared of anything. And I really loved that. And he always just pushed himself to the limit. It takes a really special kind of character to be able to keep up with the Justice League, because he is a human being and he has to fight alongside Wonder Woman, Superman, the Martian Manhunter, the Flash, and he can actually beat a lot of them in a fight. And he does that just off of his brain. So I felt like that was a pretty inspirational guy to look up to. He doesn't give up. He's not scared. He's total badass. He's rich. He's got all the girls. Why not? Why did you start drawing? Why did I start drawing? That's an interesting version of the question. Now, to answer why as opposed to how, why did I start drawing? You know, I just liked it. It seemed like a really good outlet at the time I was doing it, and I had a lot of ideas. I was a pretty creative kid growing up. Didn't have a whole bunch of friends. I had like one or two people, you know, besides my brother. So when I wanted to make something or say something or do something, I just draw. And I had a bunch of ideas, even though a lot of them were pretty trash. I actually remember most of them. I can name them to you. And I know they're not coming out, so I guess I'll just, you know, maybe do a list of those. If you guys want to see them, let me know. You know, I just like to draw. Thesis D asks, what brushes do you use in your art programs? It depends on the program. Photoshop, they come with their own brushes, and I got like a million brushes that I've downloaded, which are all very helpful, even though I probably only stick to like 10 of them, which maybe is still a lot compared to other people, but I have like different effects and different go-to stuff that I use. I couldn't really name them off top, but if you're looking for something, just go to deviantart.com, type in, let's say you're looking for bloody brushes like blood splatters or paint splatters or things like that, which is one brush I have. Just type in splatter brush and it'll probably pop up for you. So that's what I use in Photoshop. As for Sai, I use the default brushes because there aren't anything special, but these days I use the pen and the acrylic brush and of course the blur. Yeah, let's get a lot of the workout done that I need done, so yeah. Anonymous asks, how long does it take to make one of your pages? Depends on the page, depends on the complexity. Anywhere at the minimum, if I'm doing a really easy page, which is pretty unlikely these days, probably just about 2 to 3 hours. We'll call that a pinup. And if I'm doing something really hard, it's probably gonna take like 6, 8 hours. But again, it all depends. DCD asked once again, what brand of toothpaste do you use? I'm sure people want to know the secret behind the McSwagger smile. What kind of toothpaste do I use? Whatever's on sale. Anonymous asks, how'd you get involved with Leaders of the Free World? Okay, story time. I got involved with Leaders of the Free World when it kind of came to me, in the sense that I was pretty much minding my own business, working with some clients, wrapping up, doing other regular stuff. And I get an email one day, pretty much out of the blue, from this guy from Twitter. He goes by the name Task. So, you know, I open the email, read it, and I get this a lot these days, and I might do a separate video on that. But it kind of starts with like,
I don't know if you're gonna like read this email, and I don't know if you know, you're interested in this kind of thing, but
kind of have this idea. I found your work from this other place, and I saw your picture. And one of the things that he actually saw from me, first of all, was my Rogue picture. And apparently, if you ask him, I believe that someone showed it to him. It was the remake I did of Rogue from the X-Men. He saw that, he really liked it, because one of the characters, Moonshine, is slightly based off of her design-wise, and you guys can probably see that if you check it out. So he saw it and he thought it looks pretty cool, and he was like, yeah, can I send you the script? I got some ideas, maybe we can work something out. So like, okay, you know, I never turn down a good script, so if the script is really cool, I'll work with the project and we'll make something happen. I look everything over, it's all pretty cool. So yeah, we take it from there, and the rest, as they say, is history. Hopefully that is interesting at all. I don't know if it is. I mean, it's pretty standard how my job goes. Someone sends me work, I look at it, I accept it or decline it, and we make it happen. Low Key Sounds asks, what motivates you to wake up every morning? That's a big question. I feel like, I mean, the general idea of the thing is, in life, you always have the possibility of a lot of things. So if you do everything right, and that's not to say you won't do some things wrong, but you have the possibility to take care of your family, take care of yourself, and maybe be happy. I mean, I like that. I like the sound of that. So I think that's a pretty good place to start. Anonymous asks, race and comics. Well, what do you want to know? Godson Music asks, what's the best way to make commission ads on sites like Reddit and DeviantArt? Well, that's a bit of a science. As far as Reddit goes, what's worked for me personally has been to divulge as much information about the process as possible, but with Reddit, some subs tell you that you have to very explicitly list your prices, but if they ask for that, you should do it. But I personally don't list my prices. I'll tell you what you can get, how fast you can get it, what it takes to get it, how we work together, but I won't tell you the price usually up front. And the reason that is a lot of people will just, which kind of goes back to the thing from earlier, a lot of people will look at it and say, they'll look at a picture of the art and say, the art is great, but I can't afford it, if they see the price right up front. But if they say the art is great, I wonder what he charges, they're more likely to approach me for a quote, which is how I get most of my clients. So it's a bit like a Ferrari, I think. When you see it and, you know, they don't have the price listed, it's probably too expensive for you. But if they do have a price listed on something that's luxury but affordable, like a Mercedes-Benz maybe, then you can be like, I actually kind of have a shot at getting this. And this isn't to blow myself up or anything like that, but I've had people tell me in emails, just starting off the bat, I don't think I can afford you, but I wanted to know what you thought about the story. So maybe that's kind of what goes into it. But that's how I do my ads on Reddit. As far as DeviantArt, I haven't used that site in ages, but it's more or less the same thing because I have my templates of how I post ads and stuff like that, so I can use them for pretty much any site. So in review, you've got make sure you put your details, make sure you put your contact info, make sure you put the experience working with the people and the times they can get it, what they can expect, things like that, how much you'll do and how much you won't do, And yeah, just invite them to send you scripts, ideas, all that type of stuff. Should be good to go. And listing prices is totally optional. Anonymous asks, thoughts on ComicsGate? Okay, so I've actually thought about doing videos on ComicsGate for a while, but I've always been putting it off because it seems like one of those topics that you shouldn't really touch unless you're really trying to get that smoke. Me personally, I don't necessarily care, but since we're on the topic, let me just preface the whole thing by saying I don't agree with ComicsGate. I don't like their methods, and I don't agree with what they stand for. They can have that. But now let me explain why I don't agree with ComicsGate. So the idea behind the thing is they want to make comics great again. Okay, comics being great is a very subjective thing because there are people right now, comics technically are doing a lot better than they've done in ages. And that's pretty much a fact. Whether you've got the comic book movies, which are driving sales to the books themselves, or the books on their own, we've got independents making a huge mark on the independent sector with crowdfunding, with things like Kickstarter. We've got so many different types of books being published that are outside of the superhero genre totally and completely. The demographic is all over the place. So people from all ages, backgrounds, races, ethnicities, beliefs are getting into comics. So what is wrong with comics that you want to make them great at this stage? There's a comic for everybody. So if you don't like what's out there, you can make your own. And the issue with that is, the irony is palpable. The issue with that is the guys who are actually trying to spearhead this thing and make their own comics, by the time they actually make the comic, their comic needs to be made great. And I'm not gonna name any names, but people have reported getting, ComicsGate books that are all torn up and they're cheap and they're not packaged correctly, and that's a whole nother topic. But the idea behind the thing is to improve something that is not imperfect, but it can't be perfect because it's a human thing. It's trial and error. ComicsGate is just some kind of a resistance to something that's not really happening. And if your method of making something better is to make it outdated, whether through the artists that are actually doing it or through the storylines and the concepts, I can't say that's a great thing. But like I said at the beginning, this is all subjective. So if that's your thing, go with it. Anonymous asks, how you learn to draw? I get asked this question a lot. People ask me, did I go to a school? Did I do this? Did I do that? No, I just learned everything myself. And this was before the internet, by the way. I used to have a book called How to Draw the Marvel Way. John Romita had a Spider-Man image on the cover. He's been one of my favorite artists ever since. And even, that book doesn't really teach you how to draw necessarily, but I used it, and I did learn some things from it. And I've seen over the ages my style kind of come around to that a little bit in certain ways, but pretty much trial and error. I learned how to draw with my brother. We used to do things and teach each other how to draw and throw tips and tricks and techniques. Whenever somebody would learn something, we'd kind of make a tutorial for each other. And maybe that's where this whole tutorial thing with YouTube started. You never know. But as the internet came along and we were still learning, they had some different resources out there. A lot of websites I would name that probably still aren't around. But we use things like that, and here we are. And for our last question, Thesis D asks, what lead types do you use for each type of pencil drawing, sketching, shading, etc.? That's an interesting question. I haven't done shading in the ages, because I do most of my, when I'm trying to add values and tones, I do that digitally with colors now. I'll tell you what I used to use when I used to do that type of thing. I still actually have these pencils. I would use a number 5, a 0.5 millimeter pencil to do the small lines and the really thin lines and the very lighter lines. And then I would use the 0.7 millimeter pencil to do things like the heavy shading and the dark shadows and things like that. To give things a bolder look, I would use the 7. And every now and then I also have a 0.9, and I can use that too for, it actually works. The 0.9 is very smooth, the one that I bought. I forgot what brand it was, but you can use that and get an even darker shade if possible from the 7. So that's what I use. Hopefully that answers the question. And if you want to buy either of those things, I'll make sure I have those links also below, and you can get them from Amazon. When you buy from Amazon, you support me and my channel. So again, make sure you shop around, click those links in the description, help your boy out. That about wraps it up for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for the questions. I had a lot of fun doing this Q&A. Getting set up, you guys can't see it, but I got my like green screen and everything in the back. Getting set up today was a little bit hectic, but I had fun doing the questions. Love you taking you guys' questions, answering the questions, interacting with you guys. A lot of fun. Make sure you keep the questions coming. Once again, I'll have the link to Curious Cat down below. You can ask me questions there and I'll always respond to them. And Curious Cat, my profile is linked to my Twitter, so if you want to see the answers when you ask those questions, you can either do it on Curious Cat or you can check out my Twitter profile, and I'll have the link to that right down below, right here as always. And make sure you tune in for next week's video. We'll have another For Future Reference vlog this Friday, and I'll have another speed drawing tutorial, anything like that, on Monday as always. Hopefully you guys got something out of this video. It's gonna take a while to edit because right now the runtime is about 23 minutes, and I have another part since everyone kept calling me on the phone. I'll probably leave some bits of that in this video if I don't cut this section of me talking out. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as always, feel free to leave me some questions. I know I did a little FAQ here to answer some of the commonly and more recently asked stuff, but this is YouTube. Just leave a comment down below with the question you want to know. I'll answer it. And I'll probably stockpile some more questions for the future, another FAQ. Last time we did one was about 2 years ago on AMA Feed. Shout out to those guys. That site is down. It's probably not coming back, but I really appreciate what happened there. I got something like over 100 questions. It's amazing. Keep an eye out for Leaders of the Free World. We're still trying to sort out this thing with Comixology. They sent us a rejection, but they said there's nothing wrong with the book, but they're trying to like deal with some like margins and sizing issues. The dimensions have to be like a certain height and width and all that type of stuff. So we're still waiting on them to get back to us with that. We resent everything. So once that is out, we will have the announcement for you guys. The links will be down below, or in the next video. I'll probably do a separate video for that. So yeah, stay tuned. More Leaders of the Free World. It is out, but for the public, it is still on the way. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. I really appreciate you guys, everyone who's taken the time to ask questions, who enjoy watching my channel and watching my videos. I'm getting a lot more comments and activity on the videos, even if the views are still a little on the downside. A lot of the engagements are actually going up. So I really appreciate you guys, and thank you. Make sure you share this video, support the video, support my channel. Make sure you check out the Amazon links that I'll have below, and you can buy some supplies. That helps my channel out as well. So hopefully you guys can show a little support in that way. I'm done rambling. I will see you guys in the next week's video. There's probably something that I need to say that I'll remember to say after the video is done, but I will see you later.